If you are watching this video because you are in the throes of a divorce and you're concerned about the time, money, and energy that you might be spending, I'm going to spill a secret here that your attorney is likely not going to tell you. The family court is not broken. It's actually working the way it was designed. And how it was designed was not intended to help your family, your finances, your sanity, or your time frame. We're going to talk today about why the average litigated divorce in New York takes years to complete, sometimes costs significantly more than someone's annual salary, and I'm going to give you a better way. I'm going to give you a roadmap that's going to help you create your best future without having to become another statistic. Welcome back to Divorce Den, everyone, where our goal is always to give you information and guidance on ways that you can create your best future without ever wasting time in court. Let's talk today about the topic at hand, why family court and Supreme Court is actually working just the way it was designed to, and how you can avoid getting sucked into that trap. First, I just want to talk about some of the numbers. When I talk about the numbers, it's honestly shocking, sometimes even to myself, but certainly to people that I'm talking to, about how long divorce takes. The average litigated case in New York takes far more than a year, sometimes 2 or 3 or even more years just to complete. So from the time you file to the time you're actually divorced, it could be 3 years later. I've had some of my colleagues tell me that they have been litigating cases that have actually lasted longer than the marriage itself. 4, 5, 6 years sometimes. And that's not even talking about the money. Talking about the cost of divorce is really astronomical. And honestly, it's really heartbreaking because so many people face serious financial hardships when they're getting divorced. The average divorce that's litigated, that's going to take those years, without us even talking about a custody battle, can cost upwards of $20,000 to $30,000 per person. I've worked with people who have spent upwards of $75,000 on a divorce. One person, and then the other side had to spend the same. So when you think about how much money that is that you're not putting into your retirement, that you're not putting into your kids' education, money that you might have to be borrowing, it really can be so overwhelming. And then what about the emotional toll? Being in court actually sets you up to fight so that the emotions are going to be heightened and the sense of reality is really going to be skewed, and you are going to dig your heels in and fight for what it is that you want. When you're digging your heels in to fight for something, that's only going to increase all of the animosity. It is only going to heighten emotions and not let you think clearly in order to make a decision for your future. Whether you're talking about retirement accounts or the house or custody of your children, spousal support payments, no matter what it is that you're talking about or that you're fighting about, whatever the disagreement is going to be tenfold because of the outside influence of the court. And these are things that if we sat down together and talked about what the law is, talked about what it is that your needs are, talked about what it is that you're willing to compromise on, I guarantee you many of those items, maybe not all of them, but many of them, you'd be able to come to a resolution on. Instead, you know what happens? There are depositions. There's motion practice. There are court appearances. There's a lot of posturing. And all of this is done at your attorney's hourly rate. What is that? $450 an hour? $550 an hour? Maybe even more? And then when you do show up in court with your attorney, they have, 10 to 15 minutes to make the arguments, to tell the judge their side of what it is that's going on, and then you leave. But how long did your attorney have to sit there in the court? How long did your attorney have to travel to get there? How long did your attorney have to prep before they went there? All of that is time and money that you are paying for. And we're not even talking about if you need expert witnesses, if you need those depositions, if you need transcripts. There are so many other things to consider besides just the standard litigious posturing when it comes to getting divorced. What if your children are appointed an attorney? Who has to pay for that attorney? You do. What if the court's going to say that you need financial forensics? Who's going to pay for that forensic evaluation? You are. There are so many unknowns and uncertainties when you're going to court, and all of that costs time, and all of it costs money. I have seen clients fight in court over a living room set. A living room set that cost maybe $2,500, they just spent over $3,000 in attorney fees between the two of them arguing and fighting about this living room set. It doesn't make sense. Then you know what the judge says? Get out of my courtroom and go figure it out. While there are times when lawyers maybe keep things going a little bit, The truth of the matter is, it's not necessarily even about the attorneys being greedy or trying to drag this out. It is about the entire court system and the industry being designed not to be efficient, but to make sure that the two of you come in here fighting and one of you walks away a winner, one of you walks away a loser. And they take your case and move it along. It's not about efficiency. It's not about being thorough. It's not about even being fair. And it is certainly not about addressing your needs for now and the future. And the truth is, it seems to assume the worst about you and your ability to make decisions for your future. So in a nutshell, let me explain how the system works when you're in court and you're litigating your matter. Because once you understand it a little bit more, then I think you're going to understand why it's so time-consuming and why it's so expensive. So first, the court just automatically operates on the assumption that you and your soon-to-be ex can't agree on anything. So there are procedures in place from day one regarding financial disclosure, things that you have to exchange. There's an actual preliminary conference order that has to be signed the very first court appearance. That's going to lay out dates when you're going to exchange everything. It's going to give you a time frame of the discovery process, which is basically giving you the opportunity to investigate every claim that your soon-to-be ex makes, and every claim that you're making, they get the opportunity to investigate as well. It sets you up almost from a litigation posture to fight from day one. So let's just say that your spouse is hiding money. Even if you're not. Now you have to take the time, money, and energy to prove the negative. You have to prove that there is money hidden somewhere and that there is not enough money in an account. So that means getting bank statements, credit card statements, maybe figuring out where it is that they're working off the books or where it is that money is going somewhere else into someone else's account. These are all things that you have to prove if you think that your spouse is hiding money. And then your attorney has to take all of that information and they have to review it. That takes so much time, money, and energy. Also, the court doesn't care about your timeline. If you're concerned about moving this forward quickly, getting this financial disclosure and making sure that you have this full picture and then moving things forward quickly, the court doesn't care about your timeline. The court cares about their timeline, how it is that your case can fit into their calendar. Judges get rotated all the time. I've been on cases where there have been 3 judges assigned to the one case. And you know what happens every time a new judge is assigned? They have to learn the case almost from square one. And there we are, spending a lot of time, money, and energy educating the judge about where it is that we are, what it is that has been filed, what it is that we've been settled on, how it is that we want to move forward. You have to start all over again, which is just going to cost you more money. Personnel goes on vacation, paperwork gets lost. They have to go and review any filings through the county clerk's office, maybe last minute. All of this can take so much time. And then if the judge doesn't have enough time, they're going to push your matter out another 30 or 60 days, depending on when they have time in their calendar to fit you in. And your urgent motion to be heard immediately, either for support or for custody, that just gets kicked down the road. And never mind if you took off of work. The court doesn't care about that. They have their own calendar to run, their own schedule to keep up on. Them worrying about yours is not a priority to them. I've actually seen people have to delay future plans, whether it's job opportunities, housing, no matter what. They've had to actually put those off because they don't know where they're going to be in 6 months from now, a year from now. Is this case going to wrap up? They have no idea. And I, as an attorney, can't really give them any assurances because I don't know either. Here's something else that a lot of people don't think about. That judge doesn't know your family. They don't know your needs, your interests, the special needs that you might have for your children, for your pets, for your house, for your commute, for your job, no matter what. There are things that you have set up in your life with your partner, even though that partner is going to be your soon-to-be ex. There are things that you have set up for the best interest of you and your family. The judge doesn't have time to get to know all of those intricate details, to know the intimate details of your family. They don't have time for that. What they have time for is to fit you in this little tiny limited window, hear your case, and then push you along. A judge is not a relationship counselor. A judge is not a financial advisor. A judge is not a parenting expert. What they are is a decision maker. They deal with the evidence that is in front of them, they make a determination on it, they write an order, and they push it off into your corner. Now it's up to you to follow the terms of that court order and make it make sense for your future. And the system almost assumes that you're going to need protection from the other person, that immediately there's going to be this fighting, that everything has to stay formal and everything has to stay documented and everything has to stay above board. Not that you want to do anything underhanded, but what I mean is They come in with the assumption that you're fighting over everything and that the other person is trying to pull the wool over the other one's eyes. Instead of sitting down and saying, let's have a discussion. What is it that you agree to? What is it that you need assistance with? What do you need support with? You're never going to hear those words from a court. If the court hears that there's any type of disagreement, the first thing they're going to say is, go file a motion. And in New York specifically, there's what's called equitable distribution, that everything's going to be divided equitably. Well, that sounds fair, right? What does equitable really mean? When you're in court, the judge, if they take the time, most of them do not, but if they take the time to say to you, we're going to divide things equitably, and they explain to you what equitable means, you're not really in a better position after they tell you, because equitable really means what the judge decides is equitable. It doesn't mean 50-50. It doesn't mean that you get 75-25. It doesn't mean that if you worked more, then you get more. It's really about presenting the evidence, presenting how it is that the both of you lived, and then the judge decides what's equitable. And then based on that list of factors, when the judge decides what's equitable, how long is that going to take? How much money is that going to cost you? Because the judge can only make a determination on what's equitable after they have a fact-finding hearing, after they have a motion, after they have a final determination. How much is that going to cost in order to get there? Okay, so now that you have a little bit of a better understanding, I hope, about how it is that the court works and how it is that the judges make decisions, let's talk about ways that you can save time, money, and energy and not have to get sucked into that. Because despite what you might think and despite what you've been told, there is a better way, and you do not, let me repeat, you do not have to go to court in order to get divorced. The first option, an uncontested divorce. What that basically means is we're not contesting it. We are not fighting it. You and your spouse can actually fill out all of the paperwork and you can file it with the court, and the paperwork goes to court for a judge to review, sign off on, and then give you your judgment of divorce. You and your soon-to-be ex never have to actually step foot inside of that courthouse ever. However, that does mean that the both of you are going to have to agree on the terms that are going to be written and filed. So whether it's custody, whether it's retirement accounts, whether it's what you're going to do with the house, the cars, any of it, all of that has to be agreed upon. It has to be written down in a stipulation of settlement, and that agreement has to be filed with the court along with all of the other court documents. Generally, a hair under $500 for the court filing fees. And right there are no attorneys that are required to appear for you because you're not required to appear in court. I always suggest that you have your own attorney review anything that you're signing off on and filing that's going to be made into a court order. However, there's no requirement that you do that. And that entire process can take a matter of a few months as opposed to a few years. But I know what you're thinking, and I know I've heard so many people in comments on other videos that I've done, yeah, but we can't agree on everything. If we can't agree on everything, then this is going to cost tens of thousands of dollars. Hold on. Not necessarily. Because the truth is, you probably agree on a lot more than you think. Number one, if you have kids, I'm almost positive the both of you are going to say you want what's best for your kids. Great. You agree on that. Use that as a starting point to say, okay, we want what's best for our kids, meaning that we're not going to put ourselves first. Let's put our children's needs first. What makes the most sense for them? Does it make sense for us to live near each other? Or do we fight so much that we need to live separate and apart, maybe not even in the same town? Does it make sense for the kids to be with me on the weekends because I have family coming that normally spend weekends and they get to spend time with their extended family? Or does it make more sense for the kids to spend more time with you on the weekends because they have extracurricular activities and you're closer to whatever those sports events are? No matter what, you're looking at it through a lens that makes sense for your children, not for your convenience. Not what works best for you, but what works best for your kids. And again, if you can agree on that, then the planning and the parenting plan and getting everything put on paper, that's just a negotiation. That's just us trying to figure out what's going to make sense. But you starting from the place of you want what's best for your kids, that's huge. But the problem is that when you're in a litigated divorce, it brings out the worst in people. So you can't necessarily see things clearly and think about what's in the best interest of my kids. The only thing you can think about is the kids are better off with me. And maybe you think that that's true. But the reality is that when you can take a step back and you're not so burdened by the overwhelm emotionally, financially, time-wise of the court system, you might be able to find a way to find peace with your soon-to-be ex, keeping in mind what's best for your kids and not going bankrupt on paying attorney fees. Because another thing that I'm sure the both of you can agree on is you both want to move on with your lives. If you are able to step outside of that litigation mind frame and think about alternatives, Think about divorce mediation. With a skilled divorce mediator who is going to be working for the both of you, not pitting the both of you against each other, but working for the both of you and trying to come up with an arrangement and an agreement that's going to be in both of your best interests, that is really going to save you a tremendous amount of time, a tremendous amount of money, and it's going to save you so many emotional resources. Mediation costs a fraction of what litigation costs. A skilled divorce mediator might be anywhere from $300 to $400 an hour, where a litigation attorney is over $500 an hour, and that's times two. The mediator is trained to have conversations with the both of you in a structured and supportive way, where the both of you hear each other's interests, you hear each other's concerns, and you start to create solutions, as opposed to those two attorneys who are getting paid well over $550 an hour probably, have the two of you fighting each other and continuing this fight for years and years. So think about working with a divorce mediator who is going to be working on problem solving instead of blame. Because I have seen couples who have come into my office to mediate who have said we don't agree on anything, and they have walked out with the entire divorce costing them $5,000 or $6,000 as opposed to $60,000 when they couldn't agree on anything. Guess what? They did. Now, was it what they both wanted? Of course not, because if you both leave a little unhappy, then you know it was a success. You never want to feel like you got everything that you wanted and left the other person completely empty-handed and they got nothing. This is somebody that you cared about. This is somebody you were in a committed relationship with for a significant period of time. This is someone you have children with. So you want to make sure that even though you feel like you're coming out with your interests taken care of, you want theirs to be as well. But what if you need a little bit more support and that one neutral mediator isn't really going to give you the support that you need? Then consider the collaborative divorce process. Collaborative divorce involves both of you having your own attorney who is specifically trained in the collaborative model, and they are going to assure, and you're going to sign an agreement that actually swears to, that the two of you will never go to court. These attorneys are never going to court. We can complete all of the same requirements as if you were in court, meaning that there's going to be full financial disclosure. We're not going to hide anything from each other. We are going to have open and honest conversations about what your needs are, what your interests are, what your concerns are. We're going to bring in other professionals, a facilitator who can help with the conversations, help with the meetings, help with the agendas, and move everything along. We're going to bring in a financial neutral who's going to help with the budgets, with all of the financials. And we're all going to create a team that's going to work for you and that's going to work with you. Even though there are all of these professionals in the room, I've heard so many people say, oh my gosh, that's going to cost so much more money than if I just hire an attorney and go to court. I can assure you that is not necessarily the case. Nobody can ever guarantee you that it's going to be cheaper, and that's not what I'm saying. What I am going to say is, in my experience, I have seen the collaborative model work in a much more financially efficient manner than if you're going to court. And here's what these alternatives have in common. Whether you're filing on your own, whether you're choosing a divorce mediator, or you're moving forward in the collaborative model, these alternative models put all of the control in your hands, as far as the timeline, as far as the finances, and as far as the decision making. Instead of waiting for a judge who does not know your family to make a decision about how you're going to be required to live your life in the future, you can take control of your future, you can make the decisions, and you can take the professional guidance and make sure that everything is done properly. All right, so what should you actually do now? Let's talk about a step-by-step plan that you should think about implementing if you're thinking about getting divorced or separated. Step 1, get educated before you start making any emotional decisions. Please understand New York divorce law. Whether you're looking things up, whether you're speaking to an attorney, you need to know what you're entitled to and what you're not, and what you're going to be willing to give on and what you might not be willing to give on. Please do not rely on your sister's, hairdresser's, best friend's cousin to give you divorce advice, because this is what she went through. Every case in New York is very, very unique. So don't listen to the next door neighbor who said, oh, I can't believe you didn't get child support. This is how much I got. Very, very different situation. Step 2, please try negotiation before litigation. Whether you try mediation, collaborative divorce, or just sitting down with your spouse and trying to work things out. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. It will be hard. You will be angry. But it's so much easier and so much better for you than spending years and years in court. Step 3, get all of your finances organized. Again, regardless if you're in court or not, you want to make sure that you're as organized as possible. That will make your case go so much smoother, it will cost you so much less money, and it will ensure that you have all of the information that you need, that everything that you have was disclosed, and everything that your soon-to-be ex has disclosed everything with you. And don't forget, in New York, you are required to fully disclose, give all of the information. You can agree to whatever you want, but you need to agree with the knowledge and the understanding of what's actually there. And the earlier you do that, the better, because that can save so much time and money, especially if you're in court. Don't go to court. Step 4, and this is a big one. Think about what it is that you want. Think about what it is that you need for your future, for your interests. Not what you think you deserve, not what you think you're entitled to. Is this something that you want to keep fighting about for the next decade? Do you want your kids to see you at war with your ex? Do you want this battle to consume your entire future? These are things that you really need to think about. Think about what it is that you need for your future, what are your interests, as opposed to what are your positions. And step 5, manage your attorney accordingly. If you are in a litigation model, please make sure that you are asking your attorney to keep you updated on everything that's going on. Make sure that you are very clear with them about what it is that your budget is. Ask them to make sure that they share any upfront costs with you, especially if it comes to motion filing or depositions or anything else that has to be done in the court. You want to make sure that you are in complete control over what it is that's going on, decisions that are being made, offers that are being given, and the money that's being spent. And here is something that I wish most people knew, and what the court will not tell you. The goal is not to win. The goal is to create a future that makes sense for you and your family. There is no prize for having the most expensive or the nastiest divorce. The real prize is getting your life back. Look, I'm not saying that the court system is evil, but what I am saying is it's not your friend. It's not there to support you, help to give you guidance, help to bolster you. What the court system is there to do is to make decisions and move on. For most people, most of the time, there are better options than going to court. Because let me tell you, the court will let you fight. They will sit back and let the both of you fight. They will let your attorneys fight. They will let you spend every last dollar fighting this out. Even if they reprimand you on the record and say, oh, I can't believe you're spending all of this money here fighting when the two of you could be just working this out. I've heard judges say that all the time. And then you know what they say? Come back in 30 days, come back in 60 days, and continue the fight. And the truth is, they'll let you do that for years, but you don't have to choose to do that. You can choose to take control over the process of getting divorced or separated and creating a future that makes sense for you. And lastly, please know that it will be okay. You are not alone. There are so many support resources out there to help you navigate when it comes to getting divorced in New York, including Divorce Den Blueprint, which I encourage you to go and check out and see if you qualify for this flat fee divorce model in New York. And I certainly encourage you to get a divorce coach or a divorce doula, again, through Divorce Den, and finding someone who's really going to be in your corner to help you see things clearly, help you start to think about what it is that your interests and your goals are for the future instead of staying entrenched in that conflict. You really can move forward. You got this. So please drop a comment and let us know what's your biggest fear about getting divorced in New York. And what questions do you have that nobody seems to be addressing? I read every comment and we will respond in the best way that we can. And if this video helped you understand the divorce process or even the court system a little bit better, please hit the like and subscribe button, and please share this video with anyone else who is on their divorce journey, and let them know that they have options. Because the more people who really understand the way the court system works, the less people who will be caught up and be casualties of it. Thank you again for joining me on Divorce Den. We will see you on the next video.